Welcome. Today we have Ruth Fae, founder of Fae Blood Publications. Ruth Fae is an intuitive writing coach and editor, author, and speaker. A believer in the unlimited potential of co-creation, she helps silenced voices be healed and heard through the powerful, timeless, and magical process of storytelling. Ruth works in energetic flow with her clients to help them break through their writing blocks, express themselves with courage and confidence, release their stories from their heads and hearts, and share their magic with the world. Welcome, Ruth.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. And today we are going to be doing a very special dream session, and Ruth has so kindly shared one of her recurring dreams in all its forms with us today to discuss and delve into. And so first, before I read the dream, I'm just going to read a little bit about the background that you shared along with the dream. And that is that your grandmother, maternal grandmother, was a spiritual medium who died before you were born, and that she had the quote unquote sight, but turned her back on it many moons ago. And that as a young child, you had premonitions, often through your dreams. But as life progressed, as so many do, you lost touch with your intuition and inner knowing. But that during the past few years of healing and opening to your spirituality, your dreams have become a portal to receive guidance and messages. And I love that because that is exactly what I feel they are. And so I'm really excited to hear more about your dreams and share them with everybody.
Thank you. It's funny hearing you read that. Like you're reading it out, and I'm like, did I actually write that? It's all true, but it's strange hearing your words reflected back to you sometimes.
Yes, and I'm going to be saying that too at some point. Did I write
Yeah, you are.
that? Yes. So the dream that you have chosen, the title is The Wave Dream. Now, being
Mm.
that this is a recurring dream, you said that you started having it when you moved to Australia from the UK when you were 10, and that's really when it started. But there's been so many iterations of it over time that that this is kind of an amalgamy of all those different versions rather than just one, which is fine because it'll give us the perspective on what's the same and how it changes over the course
Mm.
of time. So I'm going to read what you've written here, and then we'll go back to the beginning.
Okay, there's probably a lot. I have a feeling I wrote a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. Basically, you call it the wave dream as the main storyline is that I am somewhere near the coast, sometimes at the beach or on a cliff top or nearby in a house or shop, and huge waves come into the shore. They pick up people, some I know, some I don't, but since having kids, they are always in it. Every time it's terrifying, yet exhilarating, and I wake up full of energy, almost buzzing with it. Although the circumstances vary in each dream, the overarching theme is that I'm rescuing people, usually while in the water, grabbing hands, body surfing the waves back to shore, often getting quote unquote dumped, and struggling to breathe and break through the water, and so on. There's such power in the waves in the dream. People die, not usually people I know, but I and my loved ones always survive. In an interesting change, the most recent one involved me driving a roller coaster filled with my family. While the waves chased us, they are huge, and broke the roller coaster track as we climbed higher and higher, racing against time to reach safety. The one before that, I was driving a bus. Escaping is a theme plus rescuing, and I recall being scared, but also diving back into the water every time, and the feelings of exhilaration are strong. I have noticed that I always dream this dream right before a major change happens in my life. Every time I was pregnant, for example, but before I knew that, As an adult, and especially as a mom, when I wake up, I always say, oh, I had the wave dream. I wonder what's going to happen next. And sure enough, something life-changing does. I feel that it's a nod to something going to happen, but I also feel that there are parts of it I just don't understand. Although writing this is giving me some insight. Sometimes there is almost apocalyptic feel as houses, the shoreline, and people are destroyed. It's also about fighting for survival and safety. And the waves always come in threes, getting bigger and bigger and more destructive before a brief rest, and then it starts again. I have a sense of them towering over me. There's impending doom, fear, and the need to face it all and jump into the water, as doing nothing will result in death. This was different in the recent roller coaster one, as I was in the water, then fled and found the roller coaster to take us to safety. I can't think of anything else, and I'm not sure if I've done the dreams justice, as they feel so clear and so real. I have actually woken up times with sore legs from kicking in the water and absolutely exhausted physically, although filled with this insane energy at the same time.
Wow. Hearing you read that has made it, oh, it's made me quite emotional.
Mm. Yes,
Yeah.
that's understandable.
Mm.
Yes. And I do ask you about your mood, and in general, you say, aside from there's a lot of emotion stated in the dream, but that when you wake up, you're not really sure. You just feel, um, you know, full of energy, the insane energy.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
I did ask you about colors. We'll talk about that, and people. So when we look at the setting initially, when we first look at a dream and we look at the landscape many times is going to set the stage for the origination of the emotions and the story. And so the stage is the coast, as well as the beach, possibly cliff top, shore, or in the water. And when we consider elements in a dream, when we look at earth, air, fire, and water, many times the element of water is metaphorically a presentation of emotions. And so that can be rain, it can be a puddle, it can be a bathtub, or it can be the ocean. And so when we look at being on the coast, the shore, many times that is this dividing line between the elements, the mixture of the two, the place where the emotions kind of start to dissipate into the land, right? And especially when we look at cliffs, that even more accentuates the metaphorical cliff, the drop off, the transition, the change point. And then when you're in the water, you're really in the thick of it, particularly if you're being overwhelmed by it. So the waves being very large, by no surprise, are definitely the emotional tides of your life. And when you are in that scene, the different emotions that creates are get us at that underlying meaning and that underlying message. And also the mood that you have when you wake up, the way that you feel that exhilaration. And so when we look at the objects in the dream, really it's just the waves themselves. Now, in the recent version, as of the time of writing, there was a roller coaster, which is a totally different object introduction, although the theme is still consistent with the previous dreams. And then in another one, you had a bus. Now, what I like about both of those is that you are driving.
Yeah.
Because there are many times in dreams where your car is broken down. You're going from vehicle to vehicle and you don't have your keys. You can't get it started. You can't control it. I mean, there's so many different scenarios. And so you consider what the opposite scenario would be, and you recognize that it's very significant that you're driving, particularly because no one drives a roller coaster. So the fact that you're driving that is really showing a lot of agency and control from your subconscious about your situation, however tumultuous it may be. The fact that you're driving is very, very good sign. Now, when we look at the actions, and if I were to kind of just take out the actions, and I know this isn't one dream, but we'll look at it almost like a word salad. We have pick up people, grabbing hands, body surfing, getting dumped, struggling to breathe, break through the water, people die, always survive, driving a roller coaster, broke the roller coaster track, racing against time, driving a bus, climbed higher and higher, take us to safety, towering over me, people and houses destroyed. Now, in the way that you wrote that down, just the way that your mind formulated the lexicon of all those different versions that are the storyline of your life, and put them into that one paragraph to explain it, and the order in which those words came out, and the word choice is also really significant. So there is a lot of struggle, but a lot of resiliency. And the fact that you always survive, and that you are breaking through the surface, and that you're escaping the water, is also showing your resiliency. It's your subconscious letting you know that you have that power to rise above that. You have that power to control that. You have that power to escape that. And that you're rescuing, when you're rescuing people all the time, you're actually rescuing yourself, because those people can be all aspects of yourself. And they're things about yourself that you're calling back in. You're calling back in your power, and you're rescuing them, and you're keeping them above water, and you're integrating them into yourself, and you're not letting them die, because you always survive, because you've reintegrated them. And that's the same for, any kind of dream. I like to say, okay, look at the people in your dream, because many times they can just be metaphorical aspects of yourself.
Wow.
So,
Goodness.
I also really like, of course, that how writing it down for you you started to get that insight just by writing it down. It's like, yes, that is, the dream journaling's power demonstrated right there. And a lot of people just don't anticipate and don't see how powerful that can be till they start doing it. And then, because it requires a transference. So first you have to transfer it from your subconscious to your conscious, and you have to bring it from the theta state into the beta state. And then you have to transfer it from your conscious into another part of your brain that's going to actually formulate it into words and explain it, because you have it all up here, but then when you have to start to verbalize it and you have to start to explain it to someone else, it's like, oh, okay, how do I even describe this? And when you do that process, you start to get those synapse connections that let you see it even clearer in a way that if you had just sat there and thought about it,
Yeah.
wouldn't.
And then you forget them.
Right.
Like I dream very vividly, generally speaking, and I'll often wake up and say to my partner, "Oh, I had this dream, like, this happened, and then go into this half an hour conversation about what happened." And he's always saying, "Write it down. Like, this is make an amazing story. Write it down. This is your book. Like, write it down." And I never
Absolutely.
do. And then it goes. I forget.
Yes. And it is absolutely your book and your story. Yep. Because that's where my book came from. And I highly encourage everybody to write them down. Not even if you're not planning on writing a book, just because the reflective nature of doing that is so powerful. So going back to the roller coaster specifically dream.
Yeah.
So I really like that you are driving the roller coaster. And I also like that the waves broke the roller coaster track. And so really, if you think about the object of a roller coaster, if I didn't know what one was and I'd never seen one, what would you say the purpose of a roller coaster is?
I guess the purpose of a roller coaster is obviously a fun ride. I hate roller coasters, just gonna put that out there. They terrify me. I will not go on them unless I absolutely have to prove something to my children, which I just pretty much don't do anymore. Um, so I'm not a big fan of them. But I guess in asking that question, a roller coaster usually goes on a route and ends. Whereas in my dream, it just kept going up and up and up. And it wasn't that, circle, circle up. It was, yes, there were loops, and yes, there were, up and down parts of it, but it was always going upwards. There was never that, back to the bit where you get on and off.
Mm. And see, that's really important. That detail
Mm.
isn't in this. And so had I not asked you to
Yeah.
explain just in general a roller coaster, not even that one, I wouldn't have gotten that detail. And it's really
Mm.
important to consider how it's different from real life. And so you really hit the nail on the head. It's not in a loop.
Yeah.
And not only is it going down, 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 it's going up, 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 up.
Mm.
And so both of those things are really significant. Also, that the track is broken. So the way it's supposed to go, the predetermined path has been cut off, has been demolished. The
Yeah.
house is possibly demolished, other things possibly demolished, but you still find a new path and you continue to go up and up and up and climb higher and higher, racing against time to reach safety. And I really like that racing against time part. I think it's that intensity that is fueling that exhilaration that you achieve. And I really just like that you go off the track pretty much and just
Yeah.
survive and are elevated in doing so also. And in that dream, you mention that it's a gray and ominous setting, like a stormy day. It wasn't bright and sunny, or that it's usually not, but that dream had a lot of yellow in it, the
Did.
roller coaster dream. And I like to use Robert Haas's color theory because he has a lot of really interesting questions around colors. And what he says is that the statements are not the meaning of the color, but they're meant to trigger the personal association with that color in that dream scenario. And I think based on when you had this dream, you will find that it is spot on for many of these.
Okay.
So I feel a sense of joy and optimism. I feel alert. I am seeking a solution that will open up new and better possibilities and allow my hopes to be fulfilled. I feel the new direction I am taking will bring happiness in my future. I am hopeful. I need to find a way out of this circumstance or relationship. I need to change. My actions may be compensating for something. I may be acting impulsively. So I really feel like at that time it was I feel the new direction I am taking. I need to find a way out of this circumstance or relationship. I need a change. And there you were driving that roller coaster.
Which was yellow.
It's fabulous. I mean, it's really, it's so spot on.
Yeah.
Yes. And also you say that, in general, usually it's very gray. And that a lot of those dream settings are dark and stormy, I would say. And his associations that he has down for gray are free of color, right? I want to shield myself from those feelings. I feel emotionally distant, only an observer. It is as if I'm standing aside watching myself go through the motions. I want to remain uncommitted, shielded, separated. I don't want to make a decision that will require my emotional involvement. I have put up with too much and now wish to avoid any further emotional involvement, and I'm trying to escape an anxious situation. So I think that the overall theme of the dark and stormy waters is that emotional involvement or attempt to detach from it or attempt to figure out how to maneuver through it. But the yellow occurrence is one of the reasons why recording recurring dreams over time can be so powerful, because if you just recorded one, you'd say, well, this is me struggling, and I don't see how to get out of this. But there you are, finding your way out of this, and your family as well, and really being the rescuer for not just your family, but for yourself out of that situation. So I really love that roller coaster version.
Me too.
Yes. And I think that in general, the theme is, the escaping, rescuing, but also the power of waves and the destruction, because I think the destructive nature and the sheer force of that element on the earth is also a power of creation. So when something ends or when something's destroyed, it makes room for something new to be built. And so when you see those houses being destroyed or other people succumbing to it, that is really the metaphorical ending of those other parts of your life and other aspects of yourself that you're letting go and that you're releasing. And I really like the waves come in threes, because I talk about this a lot. Tesla said that 3, 6, and 9 hold the key to the universe. And so 3 symbolizes growth and your creations and your spiritual power and your abundance. And that is what you are harnessing in that dream, because what happens when you wake up every time, even though you may have been feeling that fear or that sense of doom every time you jump right in. You go right into the water, and you have to fight it, and you end up with this extreme sense of exhilaration, buzzing with this insane energy. And what is that but your energetic spiritual
Yeah.
power? So
Wow.
it really is you, showing you how
Mm.
powerful you are and how much resilience and abundance that you are able to achieve, and that you really can go off the tracks and still be in control of this
Yeah.
seemingly uncontrollable situation, the unpredictability of life. Um, but that the three really is the creational element, and it appears so many times throughout history and esoteric and
Yeah.
philosophy and metaphysics and everything. But it's really that creation point. And so the fact that the waves come in threes and then there's a lull, while you can gather yourself, there, I have no doubt that that is really that the power of that coming through.
Mm. Wow. That's amazing. And it does make an awful lot of sense. But it's funny because I guess I kind of got used to them over the years. So, and I did just do that. Oh, change is happening. And particularly when, it got to the point where like I had the wave dream and my ex-husband was like, oh, you pregnant again? And sure enough, like, so it sort of became, I guess it just kind of became a habit. Like I didn't look into it. But when I look at my life, like the whole timeline of it, and then recognize how that has changed, and then the last few years, I have been connecting more to my creativity, my spirituality, my who I am. It was only 2 months ago that I was in floods of tears saying, I don't know who I am. Like, what if I don't like myself? Like, really in a hole.
Yes.
But I do like myself. And I do know who I am, but sometimes it can be scary. Um, so that is a really beautiful, I really appreciate your explanation because it's a beautiful validation that I'm giving myself and not even knowing I'm doing it, which is so special. Like,
Yes.
wow. I know I keep saying that, but it's astounding.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's empowering, right? That's why I
Yeah.
call it dream empowerment, because when you start to see what you're, spiritually capable of, and it's so much part of a spiritual awakening or remembering or journey to have those existential questions about, well, who am I really? And I'm not who I thought I was. And it's because you have to experience a death in your ego to
Yeah.
actually let the light in and pass up through the realms of the spiritual levels. And
Mm,
and so you do experience total destruction of that, and it's
yeah.
devastating and confusing because you have to die. The who you thought you were has to die, because
Hmm.
it's not, it's an illusion, and it's
Yeah.
a 3D construct that's preventing you from actually being who you really are in the universal sense.
Mm,
And so many times that can be why you're seeing that destruction and death, and why there's fear around it, because it is a dismantling
yeah.
of that foundation that we
Yeah.
all cling to.
Yeah. And it's so easy to focus on the waves, obviously, but the darkness and the threat and the swamping and like when I just even think of that dream, it's like I'm this little person and there's this like tsunami type wave, like they're huge. And um having said that, I've always been fascinated by waves, so it kind of makes sense. But um seeing it from the perspective that you've brought in, it's not about the dark and the yes, that is part of it, but there's more to it than just focusing on the fear and the scary. And sometimes when I'd wake up and be exhilarated, I'm like, I've just dreamt about people drowning and buildings being destroyed. Why am I feeling so full of energy? And that's one of the things I just never understood. I was like, maybe I'm just crazy. So yeah,
Yes.
so that
And
makes a lot of sense.
yes. And it's because it's really doing the work for you and showing you what's possible when you dismantle that and allowing the creation that springs from that destruction and from letting that be dissolved, essentially. And
Yeah.
that the space that paves the way and what that opens up for you when that happens. And of course, that when that happens, change does come into your life because you're coming more into alignment with that universal self and letting go of that egoic 3D self.
Wow.
So,
You've given me so much to think about, but I'm like bursting with excitement about it all.
all right.
Yeah, it feels amazing.
All right.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to pull an oracle card for you
Yeah.
and see what the card has to say about this dream. All right. I knew it would have water.
Of
Great
course.
adventure. And the message is take a risk, venture forward.
Wow.
So that really is so much. I mean, look at what's happening in the picture, and it is a person standing at the helm of a ship.
Yeah.
And they're just superly confident and striving forward on those, tumultuous waves. And that really represents quite well the theme of the dream. And
Yeah.
also your actions and your presence in that dream story. So you are taking risks all the time. When that happens, you're diving in, you're risking your livelihood, yourself. You know that if you don't, you'll die, but that you have to still. And the venturing forward is also very much reflecting of you driving the bus, driving the roller coaster, going off the track, really having agency in the direction of your life.
That is such a beautiful validation, because my life has changed greatly over the last few years, and it's been hard. And yeah, that makes an awful lot of sense. But when you make choices and it affects other people, there is a level of guilt and sadness. And if I'd made a different choice, that person wouldn't have felt that way, or it wouldn't have affected people in a particular way. And a lot of the work I've been doing on myself is understanding that and trying to not think into that guilt and fear and all of those emotions that come along with that. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate my subconscious for letting me know that, even if I wasn't aware. But also the universe for introducing me to you so you could help me see this.
Oh, yes.
So beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was so lucky to have you as a speaker on my Embracing Lunar Wisdom Summit, which was so amazing. And so something else I want to mention at the end here is that part of what I like to encourage people to do is practice what I call dream integration. And that is where I use different modalities like affirmations, journal prompts, sound frequencies, visualizations, meditation to integrate what you've learned today. And so
Okay.
one of the things that you can do, and you can
Mhm.
find this online, is look for the 396 hertz frequency, because
Yep.
that specific frequency, when you listen to it on a regular basis, operates to liberate you from fear and guilt. And so, what you were
Amazing.
just talking about, it's going to subconsciously raise your vibrational frequency so that you can more easily transmute those emotions, and
Mm.
you will start to see the effect in this recurring dream. Once you start to understand your dream language and the different messages that it's sending you, many times the recurring dream will cease or change because you've finally understood what it's trying to tell you. And it can also just change the scenario. So it'll be interesting now that you have this new perspective on it. Take
Mhm.
some time and reflect on it. And in those times, listen to that sound
Yeah.
healing as a way to advance you forward.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Ruth. I really appreciate what you do and your sharing your dream with everyone. And yes, I hope you enjoyed it.
Very much so. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was amazing.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe to my podcast now to ensure you never miss an episode filled with insights and wisdom. Head over to my YouTube channel where I share daily shorts and full podcast videos. Hit that subscribe button and be part of our growing community. Are you ready to take the next step in your spiritual journey? Don't miss out on the Women's Dream Empowerment Program, a unique opportunity for you to connect with your intuition, unlock your inner wisdom, and align with your higher self through dream work, personalized meditations, and healing sound frequencies. Finally, I want to hear from you. If you enjoyed this episode, please reach out. If you'd like your dream or awakening story featured on my show, submit it today. Your dreams have the power to inspire and enlighten other women on their journey. Visit womensdreamanalysis.com to find out more.